A little over a decade ago, a certain fragrance took the world by storm. Of course, you know I'm talking about Creed's Aventus. This particular fragrance took the social media world by storm in a sense that all over YouTube, on Facebook groups, fragrance groups, people are raving about this fragrance, saying that this is the GOAT, greatest of all time. This is the most quintessential, classy, masculine fragrance in the world. Is that true? That's for you to decide. In this video today, I'm going to talk about a little bit of the history of this particular fragrance that dropped initially in 2010. And of course, we're going to do a first impression. I have a box here, sealed, of the newest Creed Aventus Absolu Aventus 2023. If you want to know first impressions of this new fragrance, how it compares with the other ones, and my thoughts on this fragrance, stick around. It's coming up next. Welcome back to another video. Max Forti here. If you do love to make a great and lasting impression, you know that smelling good is a great way to do that. It's that one invisible accessory that adds that ultimate factor into your appearance, into your appeal, and how you're going to interact with people around you. Today we're talking about a fragrance that's set to do just that, set to give you an incredible appeal, released in 2010, so 13 years ago. This fragrance took the world by storm, especially when it comes down to the social media realms out there, starting with YouTube, hyping the hell out of this fragrance, and then within the annals of Facebook with all the different, fragrance groups, and then eventually TikTok and Instagram. The fragrance is Creed Aventus 2010 release. This is a pineapple smoky fragrance that sometimes, could be controversial. There has been tons of copies, dupes, replicas of this fragrance. And the thing is, this is, when it comes to niche, one of the most hyped fragrances in the world. I think if we did a top 10 most hyped and talked about niche fragrances of the world, this would make the top 5, no questions asked. Released in 2010, Creed Aventus was a collaboration between creative director Irving Creed, his father Olivier Creed, with 𝗗𝗵𝗄𝐿. A few years ago, I didn't know that 𝗗𝗵𝗄𝐿 was actually the nose behind Creed Aventus. Now it's common knowledge. There was a book called The Ghost Perfumer, which you can read a lot about Creed's history and the creations of their fragrances over the decades. So Creed Aventus is basically, just to talk about this one, 2010 release, it's going to be a fruity aromatic fragrance, or woody spice if you want to call it. And it's going to be basically this opening of pineapple with some patchouli, some birch. Depending on the batch that you get, it's going to be smokier or fruitier, but is a very pleasant scent, a very safe scent, if you will, and something that's very appealing, very easy on the nose, great for compliments. But I have to be honest with you, when it comes to the original Creed Aventus, I think mostly it's a guy thing. Guys, gents do love the scent of Aventus. When I asked to a whole bunch of ladies and girls and people in my life, they particularly don't love the opening of this fragrance. The hard into the dry down is very tolerable and they do enjoy it, but I've had a lot of feedback, including my wife, saying that the opening of Creed's Aventus smells like cleaning supply. It's not a bad thing. You're going to smell clean, you're going to smell appealing. This is a good fragrance. To me, it's not the greatest of all time. It's not the king of fragrances. That's just my opinion. When it comes to Aventus, compared to everything that Creed has to offer, it will take a back seat to a lot of my favorites, such as Viking, the original, not Cologne, the original Viking, the original 𝗕𝗿𝘁, which I love, not 𝗏𝐿𝐴, but the original tobacco, the original 𝗏𝐿𝐴, the original 𝗕𝗿𝘁 that's been vaulted is absolutely fantastic. It's this oak moss green tobacco fragrance. Love that stuff. GIT, I do enjoy Green Irish Tweed more than I do Aventus. And of course, one of my favorites of all time, Spice and Woods. Just goes to show, taste is subjective, but I know a lot of people watching this video do love Aventus. There's nothing wrong with that. I do enjoy it. Like I said, I like it a lot. I think it's a good fragrance, but it's not out of this world good. But leave it at that. 2010 gave us Creed Aventus. So subsequent of the release and the great success of Creed Aventus, fans were asking Creed, when are you going to drop the next big thing? And Viking, even though I do love the fragrance, even more than Aventus, has a very mature, fougere, old school vibe to it, which was not massively appealing as Creed's Aventus. So 2016 saw the release of Aventus for Her. Creed Aventus for Her, of course, was a great way for Creed to harp into the quote-unquote cash cow or flanker release, as it were. This is going to be an easier way for Creed to capitalize on a fragrance that's extremely popular and famous on Creed's Aventus. So Aventus for Her was not as heavily success as the original Aventus, although this is a really nice woody 𝗶𝗏 or fruity 𝗶𝗏. This is going to be fruity, floral. We've got rose here, peach. It is a very pleasant fragrance. You also have the patchouli, a little bit smoky, but definitely woody and fruity with that floral backdrop. I do enjoy this on my wife, but it's not definitely by any stretch of the imagination my favorite fragrance on her. From price point to a lot of other fragrances that she could wear that will, to me, smell a lot better, I don't think this was a great success for Creed. At least not the success that I think Creed was expecting to achieve with the original Creed for Man. However, fast forward to 2018, there is a fragrance that I actually don't own a bottle at this time. I did own a couple bottles, but I ended up giving it away because I wasn't just reaching out for it, which to me was subpar when you compare it to the original. But a lot of people do favor that, you know, comparing to the original. Of course, we're talking about 2018's release, Creed Aventus Cologne. This was a more, you know, subdued take. You don't have that smokiness anymore. This is very aromatic. It's very fruity, easy to wear. I think a little bit more youthful also, if you will. Very pleasant. One of those pick up and go signature scent type fragrances. So Aventus Cologne, I think, was definitely a good success, but also did not achieve the plethora of success as the original Creed Aventus, which I think it's going to be extremely hard to achieve. Some of the most prominent differences that you would have in Aventus Cologne was the extraction of the pineapple. They added a very nice green vetiver note in there along with pink pepper and mandarin orange. The fragrance really popped and it was very present, it was very pleasant, very aromatic, easy on the nose, and a compliment getter of a fragrance. However, I think it was lackluster in performance when compared to the original Aventus, which again, over the years I've had so many different batches of Creed Aventus that were amazing. And you know, I also have purchased, you know, current batches. This is a couple years old and it is great smelling. However, it is lacking in performance. One thing that I feel with Aventus is over the years, especially with the purchases, you know, of the brand, I think, unfortunately, I have to say that with, you know, reformulations, the brand have been a little bit diluted when it comes to the performance of their fragrances. This is a subject for a different video, but needless to say, I do own a lot of older bottles of Creed Aventus, and I can tell and attest that the performance was a lot more powerful, a lot stronger, a lot more long-lasting. From 2018, we passed forward 2 years. We're talking about the 10th anniversary of Creed's Aventus release, 2020's Aventus 10th anniversary. Now, when it comes to this fragrance, other than the packaging, which is pretty much a green Irish tweed with the silver cap, there's nothing really going on the juice itself. It's basically, I'd say, the same Creed Aventus that was currently being, you know, manufactured, the same batches out there, with a different commemorative, celebratory packaging. Nice packaging, but when it comes to the fragrance itself, it is, again, the same old thing. So there was nothing different here. So we were eagerly waiting. Fans of Creed Aventus was like, you know, what's going on here? Are we going to get an Aventus Intense? Are we going to have, there were talks of doing an Aventus Oud fragrance, an Aventus Tobacco take. So there were so many talks, which brings us to 2023. The time you're watching this video, I know there's gonna be questions. When is this going to be released? Is this available now? Can I buy this? I'm gonna tell you answers that I know to those questions. My box is right here. It's brand new. I'm gonna crack this open and give you guys my first impression. I'm gonna have to let you know that this bottle was sourced to me from somebody in Europe. I'm just gonna leave it at that because they did ask me to remain anonymous. So you know who you are. Thank you so much for, you know, sourcing this bottle to me, getting this bottle available for me to purchase and have it here on the channel to give you guys my first take. I do hear from Creed and associates within the Creed line of fragrances that this is going to be dropping next month, which means October of 2023. So stay on the lookout. Of course, the Creed boutique, locations where you do have authorized Creed dealers and distributors will most likely have this fragrance by next month. Now, the other thing that I heard about this fragrance is it's going to be very limited, very scarce in production, and it could very well be a special limited edition. Now, when you look at the note breakdown, which of course we're gonna get to in a second as soon as I crack this open and go for the first smell on this fragrance, it has changed quite a bit. When you look at the Absolu Aventus scent structure, the Aventus Cologne or the original Aventus, there are a lot of missing notes and new notes that were added into this fragrance. So I am very curious to smell it and give you guys my first take. So let me crack this box open. When you look at the box where the fragrance comes in, you're gonna have some Creed stickers on the side. The box has the same ribbed feel as the original Creed Aventus does with the wraparound on the bottles, which is really cool. So they took that motif and they imported it into this particular casing here. It says Absolu Aventus with the Aventus warrior, if you will. Then you have all the information here from Creed. This is a 75 ml, which I believe it's only going to be available in one size, 2.5 ounces. Creed signature up top, some more information, batch code, tracking, barcode, and all that good stuff. So when you open the box, the fragrance sits perfectly on the podium like. The bottles now, when you look at this compared to other Creed's bottle, it's back to the 75 ml as opposed to the 100 ml. And they used to have the old 125 mLs, which they discontinued, but this is going back to the 75 ml. Now, it's not going to be that matte finish that you get with the GIT bottles. It's actually going to be a glossy finish, shiny and glossy finish. The bottle looks great. You have all the information down here, batch code. The cap is heavier than the other Creed's caps, I have to say. Very heavy metal cap. And the sprayers, of course, I'm guessing it's going to be amazing from what we get from Creed. I mean, it's one of the best niche sprayers out there. There's no questions about that. Their bottles and their sprayers are absolutely amazing. They could do better with the packaging, although this packaging is actually really nice. So, Beast sprayers. All right, the moment of truth, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why I clicked on this video. So, Creed Absolu Aventus. It does have similarities to the original, of course. This is going to be a continuation, a flanker of the original. However, this fragrance is going to be like those elixirs that you get out there. I'm getting a very uncanny feel of a lavender and resins that is very similar to me to Sauvage Elixir. Now, it's not going to smell exactly like Sauvage Elixir, but it definitely has resemblance. It's like they could be cousins. It's going to be that gorgeous provincial lavender with some spices, some resinous, a little bit of sweetness, very pleasant, but definitely more mature. If you think Creed Aventus, the original, is going to be more youthful or playful, this is going to take a step into the more mature, more serious, more refined realm of fragrances. I do favor this one, guys. I'm telling you, between this one and the original, this is a much better smell for me. There's more complexity to the fragrance. It is darker. I'm getting also some patchouli in here. There is a sweetness here, but I'm not getting the pineapple sweetness. I think there's bergamot and there's going to be other fruits within this fragrance up top. Very fruity, but again, darker, more resinous, there's some smoky here, but also the smoky that I'm talking about, I think it's a combination between the resins, the patchouli, and there's definitely vetiver here. Let's look at the note breakdown. So the opening of the fragrance, it says to have bergamot, blackcurrant, and grapefruit. So I'm definitely getting a really nice fruitiness to the fragrance. It's really sticking to it. I haven't worn this on skin, but on the blotter here and in the air, it smells absolutely fantastic. Very pleasant, very inviting. One of those fragrances that will definitely get your notice, positive notice at that, and perhaps even grant you some compliments. The heart, it says to have ginger, cardamom, cedar, and cinnamon. I'm not getting much cinnamon here, but I do get spices, do get resins. So I am thinking that on skin, this is going to definitely develop and get even darker and spicier. But on the blotter, it's really the opening that it's going to stand out. Like I said, with your body chemistry and your warmth, the warmth of your body and your chemistry, I think this will definitely pop. I'm feeling that it's going to be a really good performing fragrance. It's an 𝗬𝗏 concentration. So I do think it's going to project quite nice, but it's going to give you a phenomenal sillage. I believe that this is something that if you spray your clothes, it's going to stick to it for another day or two. So quite nice so far. From the first impression here, this stuff is absolute good. And again, the base, pink pepper, patchouli, and vetiver. As I'm saying, the smokiness, the greenness of the fragrance is definitely coming through. This is going to be, at this point, as a first impression, definitely my favorite take on Aventus. So I think this is definitely a winner from the House of Creed. I think people are going to be going crazy for this one. I am hoping that Creed will not make this a limited edition and hard to find, because what's going to happen is as this becomes more scarce and hard to find, the prices will just continue to go up. As you know, it's supply and demand. If you can get a bottle of this or a decant, I urge you to do it. In fact, I will have details where you can actually get a decant right now of this fragrance. Of course, perfume.com, the partner of this channel, has this in stock, so you could definitely get yourself a decant, just like I did before I got my bottle, and you can actually rock it, live with it, make sure you love it before you commit to a full bottle, if you can find one, which I'm sure you will by next month, October. I think this will be readily available. However, if it's going to be, discontinued quickly after, it's going to be limited edition, I'd say jump on at least a decant to try it, because if you do love it, you're going to want to get a bottle before it's too late. So that's my quick take on Absolu Aventus. I don't know anything about performance, longevity, but I'm telling you, from everything I've tried from Creed so far, I definitely think this is a winner and a great release from 2023. One of the best, guys. If you do enjoy Aventus, you like that DNA, but you wanted something a little bit more mature, a little bit darker, smokier, more resinous, you're gonna love this. But it's going to be in the same range as those elixirs, such as Sauvage Elixir. So my take on this one is thumbs up. You know what? I will put this on today. It will be my scent of the day, actually spraying all over. So I will come back with a review. I will wear this fragrance for the next couple of days, and you guys can expect to see a review in the next week or two. So really good stuff. Aventus, Absolu Aventus gets, from a first impression here, an 8 out of 10. Quite good. Could definitely grow on me. On skin here, The mandarin orange is really popping. You do get the vetiver, the resins, very concentrated. You can see the sheen on my hand. This stuff is good, guys. Try it if you can. Perfume.com. Enjoy my code. Get yourself a decant, live it. I know you're gonna love it. I think you're gonna love it. If you have your taste similar to mine, you like more mature, more well-structured and complex scents, I think you guys are in for a treat. So that was my take on Absolu Aventus. That's it for me. If you haven't already, go ahead and like this video. If you do enjoy the channel, subscribe, and I will see you guys right back here with another video very soon. Take care.